The Tesla Model Y has been the leader in electric car sales for a number of years now, at least here in the States. And despite there being competitors that now offer more range and lower prices, it is still a very compelling option. But if you plan on doing a lot of highway driving, your range is definitely not going to be as far as it would with kind of the mixed driving estimates that the EPA reports. So what sort of numbers can you realistically expect here in the 2026 Model Y cruising on the highway? Well, tonight we're going to find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from DM Moto, and today we've got the real-world highway fuel efficiency and range test on the 2026 Tesla Model Y all-wheel drive premium with the 20-inch wheels. In this test, we're going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get a realistic steady-state high-speed range test for this compact electric crossover. But before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Now, we used to own a Tesla Model Y. That was the old standard range model with the smaller battery, rear-wheel drive only, and despite the lower range, realistically less than 200 miles, we road-tripped that car regularly and used it for all different sorts of driving. This one here, refreshed, obviously, the Juniper model, as many people call it, but it is a 2026. It's got all-wheel drive. It has the larger battery, which is about 75 kilowatt hours usable, 81 or so technically gross. And this one is a Tesla rental, actually, and it comes with these 20-inch wheels. Now, that's going to lower your estimated range, especially at higher speeds, a decent bit. So you would see a little bit better figures from the standard 19-inch wheels, maybe a little bit better ride quality as well. But if you do want to see more on this updated Tesla Model Y, check the link below. We have our full pros and cons review and also a dedicated sound system review on the 16-speaker sound system. So you can find all that below. Also, before we get started, a shout out to the video sponsor, LaceFit. If you have a Model Y or really just about any other car and you live in any sort of area, maybe not quite as scenic as Southern California here, but hey, we have been getting rain recently, so even here you could use a good set of all-weather floor mats. And LaceFit offers a very comprehensive solution for the Model Y. You can see here we've got them installed, covering the little entryway. That's very important for getting dirty boots or shoes into here, so this bit of carpet isn't getting dirtied. And then some piping and siping here in order to keep the slush kind of off of your carpets and off of your shoes. It goes up on the dead pedal, underneath the pedals, and importantly, a little bit under the front seat. And then in the back, you've got all 3 seat spots covered. If you use this car with people in the back regularly, you're going to want this sort of coverage that goes way up under the front seats. And this matting is a TPU material, very durable and flexible, 3D measured to really get into all those nooks and crannies, and provides a nice tray around. It'd be kind of cool to cover this carpeted section too in the rear, but still very thorough. Coming into the cargo area, you can see not only do we have a pretty standard cargo mat, but it goes above and beyond to help you access the underfloor storages. So you can see there's a kind of a crease in the middle. It bends nicely so you can open up. You see another bit of coverage here for the underfloor. And then if I pull this and kind of come under there, there's even coverage 2-layered right here for this second bit of storage. Very nice. Then on top of that, you can see if we fold down the rear seats, we've got coverage for the seat backs. This Velcro's on here, gives you access to the tether points and to the 40-20-40 split fold grab handle. It even has these little bits, which I'm not sure if this is just an extra kind of accessory bit or if there's a functionality to that right there. But let's fold those up. And coming up front, you can even see that LaceFit offers coverage for the front. So I highly recommend picking up a set of LaceFit mats if you like keeping your carpets clean, making it easier to clean those out. Check the link below and get you up to 18% off with the code DailyMotor. And even if you don't own a Model Y and you want some good floor mats, I'm sure LaceFit has some for you. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's range test, which gives this version of the Model Y with these wheels 303 miles of mixed highway driving. Let's actually stop and calculate real quick what it estimates for the highway driving. So interestingly, the EPA's website doesn't list a separate entry for long-range all-wheel drive with the 20-inch wheels. So we're gonna have to do a little extrapolation here. So there's about roughly a 6.5% drop from mixed driving to highway driving for the 19-inch wheel option. So let's just assume a 6% drop. So then we go 303 miles times, let's just say 93.5%. So we're probably going to be expecting somewhere around 283 miles from EPA's numbers on the highway. But the thing is, with that EPA test, that test only averages 48 miles per hour and has a maximum speed of 68. And we know there are plenty of people who do much higher steady state cruising speeds on the highway and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. So in order to test that out, we're going to get out to the highway here at night when there's less traffic. We're going to leave with a 100% state of charge. We're going to go out and do 100 miles, come back, charge the vehicle all the way up, and then calculate some numbers to see how much electricity we used. Now, a few things to note for the test. Outside temperature will be somewhere in the low 60-degree Fahrenheit. We are right down here by sea level. Our climate control is going to be set to 73 degrees auto, and our tire pressures are going to be set at their door placard 42 psi cold. So without any further ado, let's get this back home, charge it all the way up, and head out for the test. Here we are all charged up. We got our tire pressure set. We're going to get the climate control running and get on the road. But before we do that, let's reset our statistics here. Trip A is reset, and we are ready to begin. I did not precondition the cabin. It's currently 64 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so the heater's gonna have to work a little bit there for the start, but nothing too crazy. Should level out pretty quick as we get going here. One thing that Teslas do really well that I wish more electric vehicles would do is they utilize the friction brakes in order to maintain a predictable one-pedal driving experience even when the battery's charged all the way up to full. So for those of you who are not in the know, batteries can't do regen when they're completely topped off because there's nowhere to put the electrons back into the battery fast enough. So with most electric vehicles then, when you try to have one-pedal driving but your battery's full, the one-pedal driving essentially just doesn't work and goes away. So if you're used to driving your car with one-pedal driving and then you charge up to 100, maybe for a road trip or something like that, and then you head out on a drive, it's going to act differently than you're used to. But what the Teslas do is they just feather in more friction braking, more of the real brake pedal, if you will, in order to make it feel like the one-pedal driving is still working to its full extent. I think that's pretty smart. Now, we're not trying to get the best possible range out of this car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're getting up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace, and we're going to set our cruise control at a GPS-indicated 71 miles per hour. That should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. Oh, we are going quite a bit faster already. Looks like the speedometer is pretty accurate, maybe about a half a mile per hour below GPS, or above GPS. No, it's pretty close though, so I think settling in at 71 should allow us to... Oh, I forgot, this one has the full self-driving, but how do you tell the full self-driving to stay at 71 miles per hour? We can do that in the settings here. Let's go autopilot. Oh, and you cannot change the mode until you're in park. That's unfortunate. Okay. Alright, I'm going to limit it to 71, and then I'm going to turn on full self-driving, and then I'm going to put it into Mad Max. Cool. Oh. It's exceeding. No, don't do that. Reduce speed or just limit in settings. Why? Go a lower speed. Well, this is definitely something I'm going to have to play around with a little bit here. Because it's one thing to have full self-driving, but what about when you're doing a highway range test and you need to average 71 miles per hour? Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to use full self-driving for this test because it's just it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison to our other range tests. I might have to do a quick stop, switch over into auto steer, and then come back. But either way, I'm going to continue on with the test and catch up with you at the end. I'm going to do some members only testing of the 15+1 sound system in here, so check the link below if you want to see that. And in the meantime, enjoy this time lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway range test here in the Tesla Model Y. I've got to say, and this is coming from somebody who owned a Tesla, I still get so frustrated by the fact that every time you engage and disengage the cruise control, you have to listen to it go boom, 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 and it turns your music down. There's so many times when I used to be road tripping our car, I'd be driving with my wife and we're having a conversation or we're listening to music, and every time something's going on with traffic, people are driving poorly, and I need to either do a quick turn or take over, like, right now, all right, it's going to be much easier to just take over, and you got to hear that boom, boom, and then you hear it bing, bing, back on. It's frustrating to me that there's still no remedy for that. Now, it helps now that it can auto lane change by just pressing the turn signal stalk, but it's very frustrating that you can't just have a normal cruise control that's driving along and then, okay, put your signal on and maybe it disables the active lane keeping, you make your lane change or whatever and it comes back on. Or, I get frustrated by that bing bong sound still. I did have to come to a stop and turn off the full self-driving because, again, we wanted to keep this steady state 71 miles per hour. Just weren't able to do that with full self-driving on, which is a disappointment because I really wanted to do this whole drive and have it essentially work for me. The full self-driving works very, very well. I'm really impressed. In terms of efficiency, I'm also very impressed. We're looking at 265 watt-hours per mile right now. That is right around what that EPA figure should be, I believe. I didn't do the calculation beforehand to really calculate what the MPGE to watt-hours per mile should be, but with rough math we're looking at here, just under 100 miles traveled and at 65% state of charge, should be getting fairly close to that 280 mile range figure. Now, obviously, what you're actually going to be able to use and have a little bit of charging overhead is going to be less than that, but still pretty close to those EPA figures, which is cool, because I remember when our Tesla was not even close to the EPA figures. Overall comfort, I'm finding myself getting slid a little bit forward in the seat. I think just kind of adjust the seat bottom a little bit here to change that, but overall decent comfort. Got that lumbar adjust, so that's good. I remember when they removed that for a little while from the Teslas, and Tesla was like, oh, well, we see that people don't really use their lumbar controls. Like, that's BS. Just put it back in there. I know there was a chip shortage going on, but goodness. Sound system, pretty darn strong. We did some great members-only test tracks with that, so if you want to see that, check the link below. We're going to get this filled back up with electrons, and then crunch our final numbers after it's charged all the way up, and wrap up my thoughts with you in the morning. Here we are, all charged up. We got the car ready to go, and before we started charging last night, once we got home, said we did 260.9 watt-hours per mile, right when we had gotten stopped. Now the car is about 0.7 miles below the GPS in terms of distance traveled, so that might actually be a little bit better than the vehicle's indicated, because it actually went a little bit further than that. It says we took 26 kilowatt hours though. So if we just did really raw math, 26.1, 100.8 miles traveled divided by 26.1 kilowatts. That means we did 3.86 miles per kilowatt hour. And we could do that times 75 usable kilowatt hours and get a very respectable 200, let's just give the barely round up, 290 miles, according to the actual electricity used reported by the vehicle, and then extrapolating that based on the size of the battery. But if we try to calculate it based on efficiency, according to the charge that went back into the car, we check our charging app here, we put in 29.2 kilowatt hours into the battery pack, or rather from the charger, and we assume about a 95% charging efficiency, so 29.2 times 0.95 means the car took 27.74 kilowatt hours to charge back up. We can assume 100.8 miles divided by that 27.74 is giving us, okay, 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. And if we take that and multiply that by the 75, we're getting closer to 270. So somewhere in there, let's kind of split the difference and say 280 miles of 100% to 0% range capability here in the Model Y all-wheel drive premium with the 20-inch wheels. Now, if you had the basic 19s on here, I bet you could just barely, cruising at 70 miles per hour, squeeze up to 300 miles of range, which is pretty darn good for a vehicle at this battery capacity and for this price. 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, or 3.7, depending on what calculation you kind of go with there. Definitely nothing to snooze at for a vehicle with this much space inside of it. And not only that, but it can do the drive for itself as long as you're okay with going a speed that the car deems appropriate in all situations. So thank you all so much for watching. What do you think? Would you take this over the Equinox EV, or, well, can't say it right now, but our neighbor's got an Ioniq 5 over there as well. Definitely some pros and cons, but it is a good highway cruiser. Big shout out to Lace Fit. You can see it is starting to rain today, so these Lace Fit liners are going to be going to work, keeping the carpet nice and clean underneath here. If you do want to see more on the updated Model Y, check the link below for our sound system tests and our full review. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.